So welcome to the call. It's good to be here. And today we're going to be talking about something really interesting and something we've been wanting to get into for a while, which is kind of the current state of dating, women, and dynamics in this area. This is something that I talk about with a lot of the other coaches in the background a little bit. I have some friends that are really into this: red pill, MGTOW, MRA. If you don't know MRA, that's a men's rights activist. And they spend a lot of time talking about, how fair things are and how feminism, for example, things like that. And, and they dive heavy into these types of topics. We want to get into these type of talks today. We want to talk a little bit about feminism, red pill, MGTOW. We also want to talk a little bit about, and even some of the stuff maybe I saw in the MRA when I was kind of looking at that for a while, and really have a little discussion about it, and where I was really curious where you guys are at with this stuff. If you even look at it, or if you even know what it is. I think a lot of my clients aren't big red pill guys. They don't really go in this direction. Hey, Amber, how you doing? Good to have you on here. And I think that's for a reason. I don't talk a lot about it. I don't focus on it. It's not something that I worry too much about, to be honest. And I'm going to explain why. Not that there's not some truth to it, not that there's not some truth to all the sides. And it's really interesting. Like Derwish Kurd said, things aren't fair, and that's for sure. And you could say that, but have things ever really been fair in history? When in life has life been fair? When in life was life perfectly balanced and everybody got what they want? I don't think that's what life's about. I don't think life's about fairness. It's really hard. When you got something like the law of polarity, things are going to constantly swing. The law of polarity states you can't have one side. You can't have something that's a stick that's 4 feet from left to right without it being 4 feet from right to left. You can't have an up without a down. You can't have male without female. You can't have masculine without feminine. So we're forever intertwined in that way if you're going to be in the physical world. A piece of paper can't have one side without having another side. The walls in the space can't exist without empty space to define them. So we really do define each other. Men and women define each other. Masculine and feminine defines each other, and they're bound together in a lot of ways. So when we get into this stuff like red pill and MGTOW and people aren't fair, we're talking about levels of consciousness. If you guys understand what I talk about in revealing, there's apathy, grief, fear. That's a lower level of consciousness. Lust, anger, pride. That's a middle level of consciousness. And then courage, acceptance, love, and peace. That's the highest level of consciousness. And where this stuff gets a really crazy bad rep is a lot of let's start with feminism. Feminism, there's a lot of degrees of feminists. I've met women that say they're feminists because they just want things to be fair. And they really don't know much more about feminism, and I get it if that's all they're saying. I just want things to be fair. Although I don't believe life is ever truly fair. I think on the grand scale, on a spiritual scale, you could say that life is perfectly balanced all the time, and you can't really unbalance it as much as we try because it'll correct itself. But to our limited consciousness, it looks unfair. And now, if you look at something like feminism, especially when we get into the more extreme feminists, yeah, a lot of them, especially when we get into these, what I think they call them third wave feminists, they start getting into being angry at men, toxic masculinity, and all that kind of BS. And the funny thing is you can't have law of polarity. You can't have toxic masculinity without toxic femininity, right? So just by saying that, they start to create in the mind of men that are being called toxic. It makes them angry, polarizes them, and causes them to want to talk about what they may not say toxic femininity, but they might call women all kinds of different names and say they're manipulating and they're using them. And so these get birthed into reality. The truth is there's just femininity and masculinity. Toxic masculinity to me is not true masculine. It's unhealthy, perverted form of some type of consciousness. And true masculine is supportive, protective, channeling, grounding. It feels great. It's the reason we're here today. The men have gone out there and conquered the jungle to create a safe space for people to grow and thrive, built cities and built empires, and helped to do that by dying a lot, by going out and facing combat and dying a lot, or building and in construction. They're getting hurt all the time. They do the most dangerous jobs throughout history. And women are now starting to step into that arena because of feminism, but they still are not dying at the rate of men or going through what men have gone through. And as far as that type of stuff, women have gone through their own challenges, and we can get into the debate of that stuff all day long. We can say, oh, women were always repressed. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have as much, they didn't make as much money. But then at the same time, men were expected to die first. They're expected to go to combat the moment something happened. They were more disposable, where women and children were protected. So again, depending on how you look at it, the angle you come from, it changes. The story changes. So I don't have a problem with either, to be honest. I think they're both interesting. And as we grow in consciousness, I think we'll evolve through this and come out the other side. But these ideas get programmed into our subconscious. And when you get to these extreme feminists, they tend to be very masculine in their approach. They tend to try to out-masculine the men. And that's a proper way to say it. They try to be more masculine than men and dominate the men. And so the weird thing is they're attacking people on let me close this really quick so we don't get another cell phone. Hopefully this will stop it. Message from coming through. Oops. So I heard I was told it was very loud for you guys. Okay, so hopefully that got rid of it. But so where was I at? Okay, I just lost it. I lost my point. So if we get a lot of somebody remind me. Okay. People are trying. I got to shut all that stuff off on my computer. I shut it off on my phone, and it comes through my computer. So these women, they tend to out-masculine men. They try to out-masculine men. Some of them can really do it because there's a lot of feminized men today. So if we look throughout history, what kind of happened? We're in a state of evolution. It's not a bad thing. Through years, women had less rights. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have as much power as men. Okay, but men were also expected to die more and had to go out and they were more disposable than women. So on one hand, you have one side, which do you want to be? Okay, and it's not like men had all this freedom either, to be honest. Men back in the 1800s, 1700s, they had a lot of rules they had to live by too. That you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to work all day, you have to, it wasn't like, oh, they're just out having a blast and partying. Everybody was pretty much struggling. It was rough. And if you go back even farther, it can even get potentially worse depending on the culture and where you grew up and who you were at the time. So life has had this crazy, crazy ride. So as we move through time, you see women wanting the right to vote and wanting the right to, and that's natural. That's consciousness evolving itself. Women are saying, well, I don't need your mask. I'm going to go be my own, because we created this modern industrialized society where they didn't need as much protection anymore. And so they started saying this stuff. So what happens is they start taking on and developing their masculine, and then men start developing their feminine. And because of this, in response to this, men are like, well, they don't need me. What am I going to do? I'm going to flow now. I'm going to smoke a joint. I'm going to relax. They start going into these flowing states and developing more of this feminine nature. We move a little more forward in time, and I'm rushing through a lot of stuff here, but we end up today where men and women are largely half masculine and half feminine. And we're kind of coming together. And women, on one hand, the feminine side of a woman, is wanting men to be men, but on another hand is attacking men, because there's a lot of confusion in the second stage of growth. The first stage is very much, it's my way or the highway as a man, and women are going to use their subtle sexual power, their ability to see the subtle, to manipulate and control through manipulation. Men are going to be direct, women are going to be more manipulative. In the second stage, we both become almost half of each other, and we start to learn to push and pull and manipulate on each other. Men, in response to feminism, create red pill, create MGTOW, men going their own way, and they're like, fuck you, and women are all trying to use you. And then women, get more angry, and all this energy is getting stirred up. And next thing you know, we're going to move into what's called the third stage, which is these are data stages, where men are eventually going to evolve back into their masculine, but they're going to understand their feminine, and they're going to be able to relate to the feminine more. This is when we start to move up to the top of the emotional scale. When we start to live in courage, acceptance, love, peace, we won't be fighting anymore. We'll be getting along. We'll be able to relate to her feminine because we'll have our feminine develop. We'll primarily live in our masculine because it's better for the average male body, and vice versa. Women will be able to relate to the masculine because she can go out and run a company if she needs to, make plenty of money, but she can relate to her own body. She can relate to the man because she has her own masculine, but she can flow in her feminine when she's in a relationship, creating this nice polarity and this sexual charge together. And that's what we're heading towards. But yeah, if you look at it, there's imbalances everywhere. That's the second stage. Women want the right to vote. They want the right to make just as much money. They want to make more money a lot of times. They push, and they don't want to pay for a date. Matter of fact, they want guys. Sometimes I've met women want guys to pay for everything. But I've also seen the opposite. I've also been out with women that are perfectly capable of buying me stuff, and they do. They've offered to buy me stuff. So all different. I've seen women out there that in divorce will take everything, and I've seen women out there that will just be like, "Hey, let's just sit down and mediate and work it out." What causes you to end up with one of these two different types of women is what's really interesting to me. Are there women like they describe in Red Pill and MGTOW? Sure, there are. There's tons of them. Are there women that are super giving, sweet, and nice? Yeah, they're out there too. I would say at this point in time, there's a lot of those Red Pill, MGTOW type women that they describe, but there's still plenty of these giving, sweet, loving, caring women. And as you start to evolve into a man that lives in courage, acceptance, love, peace, and really sees the beauty of women and the best in women, you're going to draw that type of woman. You have to not be faking it. That's the other thing. I see a lot of guys out there that are nice guys saying, "Oh, women are so beautiful," but deep down inside, they're filled with hate for women. They're filled with anger and rage. And they're going to draw women that have hate and anger and rage for men, and maybe even will act like they love men, because you're all going to be sexually polarized together. You're still going to be turned on by the female body, just like the male body would be for women. But there's going to be this part of you that wants to go, that goes deeper that gets stuck, in that, and gets stuck in that anger part too. So that you're in a battle between the sexual pole and the anger between you two, and the frustration between, like, this guy used me, guys have always used me, or this girl used me. And when you're in that lust, anger, pride category, that's all you're going to see. That's all you're going to draw. Just like a woman who draws a man that beats her all the time can draw another man. She can walk into a room full of 100 men and she'll find the one guy in the room that will beat her. Just like a guy that gets used by women, he can go in with the conscience of saying all women are manipulators and users, and he'll get attracted to the one woman that's a manipulator and user. My mother was bipolar, right? And I'll tell you, the first 2 or 3 women I fucking fell mad head over heels were all bipolar. I could sniff them out of a room. And I got to the point where I knew when I got a certain pole on my body that she was bipolar, and I was going to stay the fuck away. And I've worked a lot of that out. All the women I've been dating in a long time are sweet. They're super sweet, super awesome. And, it's life. And so if you really want to invest in Red Pill and MGTOW, and you keep focusing on it, because what you focus on expands, and you keep focusing on how unfair life is and how women use you and how women will manipulate you, I promise you, you will find tons of them. And you will get manipulated because you're going to create a space for it, because what you focus on expands, right? You keep seeing it in the world, and you're going to see it more and more and more, and you're going to become a match for it. If you focus on truly getting the state, don't lie to yourself, of really loving women and seeing women as giving, you're going to find some really beautiful giving women out there, and vice versa for women. If you're really pissed at men and angry at men, you're going to find those angry men, manipulative men, or you're going to find men and you're just going to have this contention. But if you get beyond that, man, it's going to be amazing. I'm a masculine guy. I like submissive women, and I don't think submissive is weak. I think submissive is a lot of fucking power. That's where all the vulnerable, submissive, powerful women. I like it when they can go out and handle the work, because submissive doesn't mean submissive in the sense that they're weak or timid. I like them feminine. Let's put it that way. Really feminine women that like to flow. And I didn't used to. When I was more of a second stage guy, I drew second stage women, but now it's a whole different game, and I love it. And I don't apologize for it. I never will. I think a woman that loves her feminine, respects her feminine, that's not competing with me to be the masculine, is who I want to date. If I was a feminine guy, maybe I'd want a masculine woman. There are some out there, and nothing wrong with that either. But what I don't want is to be a second stage guy drawing a second stage woman and with no polarization, where you stop having sex and you stop fucking. And that's bullshit. So so that's kind of my take on this. Is yeah, they're out there. There's all kinds of reasons. The courts, there's laws that favor women. I agree with that. There's all kinds of stuff favoring women today. There's all these different movements that are attacking men. Yeah, it's all real. And the more I spend all my days fighting that, the more I'm going to bring it into my life. What I want to do is help create a really powerful group of men that outgrow this stuff, and invite awesome women to outgrow it with them, so that it eventually just dies out when we stop playing with this shit. We could talk about it, but I'm not going to get angry about it. I'm not going to get bothered by it. It just is what it is, because I don't want to invite it into my life, but I'm not afraid to look at it and say, hey, it exists. And there are manipulative women out there. So hopefully this connects with you guys. And hopefully, I wasn't a little too out there when I talked about it. There's a lot of concepts. I'm going to dig a little deeper into it with time. And I think this is a good topic to talk about with time and to go deeper into. And if you've been used, ask yourself, where were you at? I'm going to give you an example. One more example. I was an extreme nice guy, and I had a narcissistic girlfriend for a while. But I was in the lowest. I was looking, like, in a weird sort of way. I was this guy that got his sense of value by helping take care of somebody who was broken, because I didn't have enough self-esteem to bring into my life a woman that had her shit together. And so I went and found a woman that I had to, and I took a lot of pride in this, because in the past, I would have been walked all over by a woman like this. And what I did instead, this is where I got in the pride, is I learned to handle a woman like this. I learned to be tough back. I learned to, if we had to have an argument, I get in her face, set boundaries, kick her out of the house. And we had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. And when it worked good. And there was a lot of ups and downs. And I took a lot of pride in that relationship. And then one day I woke up to the fact that she's a narcissist, and I get my sense of value by being able to handle her. And that's just as bad, by being able to take care of her, handle her, and manage her, and do it in a way where I feel like a man, instead of like I'm being walked all over. And then I really realized that was just as bad, if not worse. I'd say that they're probably just as bad. And I ended it. I said, no more of this. And I've never had a girl like that, or I've never created a relationship like that since in my life. I've stayed out of them. Created a lot of sweethearts since then, and amazing relationships. So, so let's dive in and let's talk about this. What questions do you guys have in this area? Because I feel like I'm just dipping my toe in the water in this area, and I feel like we can have more discussions around this and see if my clients really resonate with this stuff or not. How do I, as a man, begin to explore my masculine energy and potential? What role does letting go or releasing play in that? It plays a big role. And, I've got a video I'm going to be doing that I hope to be releasing this Sunday about how releasing can move you into a nice guy. And that's happened. I had a couple guys talk to me about that this week. They said they were kind of not nice guys, and then they started releasing a lot, and they became nice guys because they developed some vulnerability. Then the vulnerability made them a little reactive and sensitive, and then they became a nice guy, and then they started getting walked all over. What happened was they moved from that first stage I talked about earlier into the second stage through releasing. And but if you're in that second stage and you got a really vulnerable heart and you want everybody to be happy, that's what the nice guy does. So he's out trying to fix the world. He's trying to fix the girl he's with, his friends. Then what releasing can do is you can start releasing into the masculine parts of your body and learning to ground and let go of that reactiveness. So you can receive somebody's like shit and anger, even as a guy who cares, and ground it out and stop trying to fix everything for them. Because if you really cared, you wouldn't be fixing all their problems all the time. You create a space for them to fix it themselves. You'd appreciate them. You'd say, you can do it. I believe in you. but you realize you're not going to take away people's lessons. You're not going to be out there fixing the world, and that people like you more the more you can just let all that go right through you and set boundaries. And a no can be just as loving as a yes. A stop can be just as loving. Setting a boundary can be just as loving, especially as a man with your masculine energy. Learning not to take things personal and not to close your heart when you're angry too, and just say, you know what, I can let it run right through me because I can handle it. That's where releasing has its value. It has its value in being able to ground all this shit out, and once you releasing all the parts of your body that ground all this shit out and not taking it so personal anymore. Being able to handle the world and handle the shit when the shit hits the fan. That's when you'll start moving towards your third stage, when you're vulnerable and masculine at the same time. And you're no longer, and then you won't play the victim anymore. You know, I look at it this way, that a lot of this red pill stuff and MGTOW stuff is, you got to be careful you don't end up playing the victim. Look what the world's doing to me. Look what women's doing to me. That might piss some of those guys off, but the more you play the victim, the less power you have to create what the world you want. And I'm always trying to get out every part of the victim inside of me. And I invite women to do the same. You can play this game. You can run around and say, men did this to me and men did that to me, or you can get beyond it. Do the work. You got to do the work. It can be painful. I've had to do a lot. So getting rid of that reactivity, that's where releasing is so powerful, and letting go. Okay. What else do we got? Next one. Janalius, is that how you say it? How do you think us guys can start to bring back balance to feminine and masculine energy? Well, you're talking about not bring back balance, bring back polarity. That's what I would think you would want. I mean, there's always balance, right? If you're half masculine, half feminine, you're going to polarize with people that are half masculine, half feminine, because you're going to create a balance. But you're not going to be sexually attracted to each other. After a while, you're going to lose that really quick. So polarity, and by learning to really love, if you're a masculine guy, learn to love your masculine, to walk, talk, and relate from your masculine. Still feel your feminine, relate to it, but you'll primarily, like a left or right hand, be moving from your masculine. And then you'll invite, and what that'll do is, even if you run into a second stage woman, and women can do this to men too, you run into a second stage woman that's like half masculine, half feminine, by staying in your masculine, owning your masculine, loving your masculine, and she might test you a little bit at first and challenge you, but then suddenly she'll pop more into her feminine, because that's natural law of polarity will cause her to pop into that feminine nature. And that might be something she hasn't felt in a long time. Then she gets really attractive. Women that are really powerful talk about this. They got really strong masculine, maybe they're CEOs of companies, and they can't find a lot of men that can polarize them into their feminine. And when they find one, boy, they get excited. And part of that is they got to learn to be, the reason they're CEO of a company and so masculine is they don't want to surrender their feminine. For some reason, a lot of these women, they're not comfortable with being feminine as they could be. It's the same with guys, man. Some of us guys are really uncomfortable with being masculine. Women are asking us all the time to be masculine, and we're like, I'm not, they're like, oh, that's mean. That's toxic. That's bad. And then the women get turned off, walk away, and go find another guy to sleep with, to be honest. What else do we got? Hey, there's a really good story. Go ahead. Huh?
I got a couple that are almost the same, so I'll just flash the one across the screen and then go to the next one, I guess, whenever you're ready.
I'll read the first one, then give me the second one. I'll read that one. Okay, Jordan. Is it possible to get to sex without lust? What's the next one? Do you have to be horny to be masculine? Well, no. Horny to be masculine is you don't have to be horny at all. Masculine can be grounding, containing, leading, protecting. You might take care of a little child. That doesn't mean you're horny. You might take care of a giant corporation. Now, turned on for the world, turned on for being masculine is great. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to be sexual. That just means you're comfortable with your turn on for life, which gives you passion. Now, can you have lust without? Can you have sex without? Can you get to sex without lust? It depends on how you define lust. I don't know how you're defining the word lust. Are you just talking about turned on? I mean, sure you can. But would you want to have sex without turn on? But if you're looking at lust as this lecherous chasing energy, yeah, you can surrender the chasing part, the needy part, and just relax into your turn on and get to sex that way and drop the lust. So it depends on how you're defining the word lust. Um, but um, but sex ultimately, there's going to be 99% of the time there's going to be some level of turn on or attraction. Yeah, people do have sex without much turn on, just trying to, like couples that have been together a long time that aren't really turned on, but once in a while, maybe not for each other, but they get horny and they just use each other to have sex. Somebody that pays somebody for sex, things like this. Maybe they just want to get some tension relief. Maybe they're horny in general, but not towards the person they end up sleeping with, or vice versa. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that. But ultimately, yeah, I would say turn on is an essential part of sex, not necessarily lust. Although, if we redefine lust and then make it fun, like I'm lusting for you and I'm not apologizing for it and I love it, that can be fun. I'm lusting for you and you don't, and I got to get you, that can be scary, so it all depends on how you look at it. It's the best way I can answer it. Okay, what do we got over here? Just keep peeking, okay, let's dive in. We are all one. Is masculine energy when you make a woman feel like she is wanted by you? Not necessarily, no. Masculine energy is, like I said earlier, it's grounding, it's containing, it's leading. Um, um, let me think for a sec here. If you look at guys out there that are really masculine, I'll take Conor McGregor. He's a very masculine guy, right? But he's not out there hitting on every woman. He's got his woman. He's madly in love with her, and that's all that matters. He's not he can, but standing in front of him, you can still tell he's a masculine guy, right? Um, and so masculine energy is the frame in a painting. It's the container. It's the hose. If you got a hose with water running through it, it'd be the hose. If you got a riverbank, it'd be the riverbank. It's the supportive, protective, powerful, guiding force, right? The water is the feminine. The flowing part is the feminine. And so we welcome that energy in and through our body, which makes them feel safe. And then from there we can get really turned on. It could definitely add a lot to the turn on, though. It can create a lot of turn on. So, okay. Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, I have a book, The Art of Fearless Seduction, where I talk about all the masculine qualities and the feminine qualities, and some of the feminine qualities, mostly masculine qualities, to develop to become a powerful man. And I highly recommend, if you guys are interested in getting into these qualities and understanding these energies a little better, check that book out. It can be we have a physical copy and an online copy you can get into. And I saw a reference or a link here to Eddie Brick's video on being a shorter guy. Eddie's 5'2", and he's good. He was great with women. He's married now. He came to me and he couldn't get a girl. And by the time before he got married, he was killing it right and left before he met his wife. Okay, what else we got? You still there, Andrew?
Yeah, I was looking for that the link to your book. I had to look through my email real quick. Here's another one.
Okay, awesome. Is that masculine energy when you make a woman feel like she is? Oh, you already. That's the one you already did. You already did this.
My bad. Um, Here we go.
How to be more dominant? What do I do to feel more like a man? How to transmit that energy? How to be more dominant? What do I do to feel more like a man? How to transmit that energy? Well, you got to feel more grounded. You got to feel more. That's a big part of it. I mean, grounded and comfortable with tension, not getting reactive in tension. So, what makes you look confident in the world is how comfortable you are with tension. That requires grounding. So, what is tension? Tension is anything that comes. Like, if a girl smiles and winks at you, do you get nervous and turn away? If there's a car crash on the corner, do you freak out, not know what to do, or do you run over and deal with the situation, help people out? If there's if you're walking into a dark alley and something starts to happen, Are you able to handle the tension and deal with the shit that's going on around you? It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect at it, but can you stay fairly good under pressure in general? And that's really one of the big things that women are looking for. So if you're not good under pressure and you get what we call reactive, then reactive is nervous, twitchy, pulling back, running like. Then what's going to happen is she's going to perceive you as not good with tension, which is going to actually turn her off because it doesn't equal confidence. But if you can stay calm and centered under tension, I'll give you an example. One time I walked up to a girl at a bar and I said hi to her and I was joking with her and we were having a good time. This was up in Hollywood. And this guy walked up behind her that I hadn't seen. And he was actually quite a bit bigger than me. And he walked up next to her and seemed like he knew her. So I turned to him because I was joking with her, and I said, "Hi, we haven't met yet." And I put my hand out to shake his hand, and he went to put his hand out, and then he turned and flipped me off. And then I said, "Oh, I can see you don't want to talk." Looked him in the eyes and said that. Anyways, and then I turned and I cut the energy off and started talking to her. She started laughing her ass off because I didn't lose my composure when he did that. I stayed fairly calm under pressure. Matter of fact, I got more grounded under pressure because he kind of annoyed me. So I kind of pushed him out energetically, and then he got reactive. And so reactive is like, let's just use a sexual advance. A girl leans into you. So I've seen girls do this where they start to flirt with you and they lean in a little bit more and turn on the turn on to see how guys can handle it. I've seen girls literally use this as a testing style in bars. And then you see the guys start to, oh yeah, they start going up, they start getting nervous. That's reactive energy versus dropping down with her and grounding her out and just enjoying her and then making comments from there, from lower in their body, from a more relaxed place of being. So getting really good with tension is really good because if you try to be dominant without being comfortable with tension and a little bit of vulnerability, you're going to have a really hard time. So that would be my first thing to tell you is get good with that and then start small. If you want to get into being a dom, go learn, take some classes. There are great doms out there. Learn how to do it in a safe way. If you're talking about full being a dom, if you just want to be a confident, solid guy, then start with, find a scale of 1 to 10, stuff that makes you nervous, and start with stuff that's on the lower end of the scale. Excuse me, like a 3 or a 4 at the most. Don't jump clear out there and try to do stuff that's way outside your comfort zone. You're just going to burn out. And I'd say every day, go out and find something in tension around, particularly around women. That's a 1, 2, or 3, and do 3 or 4 a day, 3 or 4 a day, 3 or 4 a day, and you'll build up this ability to be more comfortable under pressure. I mean, maybe you're standing in a bar and you're flirting with a girl, and you're like, you know what? And then you reach down and grab her hand. She squeezes it back. You're like, hey, come over here. And then you walk her 3 or 4 steps over, and you hold her hand in a masculine, grounded sort of way. Maybe that's a goal. These simple little goals will build up your skill set. But first thing I'd do is work on reaching down and grabbing a girl's hand while you're talking to her and see if you can get the hand grab back and see if you get comfortable with that in a solid sort of way where you do it in a very grounded sort of way. This is stuff easier. This question is an interesting question because it's easier to show the answer to it if I'm standing in front of you with a model. So that's why we got to get some models in here. And I've been meaning to do that. I've been meaning to call them, get them in here. So hopefully that helps. What else we got? How to attract sweethearts by being a guy that doesn't feel like he's being used by. You got to feel that part yourself. You got to feel like I don't go out feeling like women have used me. I've released all that out of my system. Feeling like women manipulate me or lie to me. I've released all that out of my system. And then when I get with women, I'm radically honest with them right from the start. And they can either handle it or they don't. If they can't handle being really honest and forward, they're going to move on really fast. And so, I'm open-hearted with them and turned on, and I enjoy them, and I let them see me appreciate them as far as my turned on energy. But I also, if I see any signs of a girl is really got anger issues towards men, I get turned off immediately because that's not who I am. I'm going to go find somebody else. So you got to be that guy that feels like, feels good in front of women, that women like you, that women want to treat you well, that they want to take care of you, they want to chase you, When you can develop that feeling in your body through releasing that'll develop naturally if you release all the any and all anger you have at women, you'll start to develop that feeling naturally, and then those types of women will show up in your life. Some guys want those used women though because they can manipulate them easier. It's these guys that are really grounded masculine, but at the same time, they just want women that they can just manipulate. They want those kind of women because they can. Um, and I love women, man. I think they're freaking awesome. And if a woman's going to be manipulative, though, I ain't going to put up with that. She's out. I'm gonna say something really fast. I'm not concerned with losing a woman, and they know it really fast. Yeah, if we've been in a relationship for a while, that's a different story. But if I just met her, it's the sooner I figure out she's got some weird shit going on and let her go, the better. So we're not wasting our time together. So, and vice versa, I think women should be the same. Um, how do you avoid? You just don't do it. How do you avoid visualizing marriage with a woman when you first meet her? If you don't want to, if you want to, if you're looking for a woman to marry, that's a different story. But if you're not looking for a woman to marry, um, you visualize what you want instead. You don't just not do it. You put the energy into what you want. And I would say, write out an ideal scene of what you want. Okay, B, write out a clear, like write all the details. Like, this is my life. I get up in the morning and this happens and that happens and then this happens and then I wake up here and we're doing this, and maybe you have two or three ideal scenes that sound really good to you. Picture of a snapshot of your life. Read it every day. Read it in the morning. Read it before you go to bed. Something that makes your endorphins pop, that feels really good, and focus on that instead. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with marriage as I say this. Some of you guys really want marriage, I have a lot of clients that have been married, and I think that's awesome too. That's if you have an ideal scene for marriage for somebody that wants that, do that. That would be the next thing. So, especially if you're having trouble, some guys are the opposite, man. They get girl after girl that wants to party but doesn't want to get serious with them, and it's all in their energy and who you're being. So, um, is it possible to be masculine while also being emotive and playful, or dynamic and expression? Is it possible to be masculine while also being emotive and playful? Yeah. You could be big energy and masculine. You could be, Conor McGregor is emotive, right? How about The Rock? Is The Rock emotive? They're really masculine guys. Go out and look at masculine guys that are out there, and who do you think is masculine? Some guys, put some masculine guys in the chat, guys. I want to see who you got. So who do you guys think are masculine out there? What about Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal? Were they masculine? So this, help this guy understand, see some people that he can go look up that are masculine. Javier Bardem, pretty masculine guy, and but he can be a little more. He can be pretty emotive though. I've seen him be emotive too. So Vin Diesel, another masculine guy, very masculine guy actually. Yeah. So yeah, being masculine doesn't mean being a low energy. It can be a big energy. It can be expressed. You got to express it the way you express it, man. For you. So, do we got any more in here? We got just one guy, Vin Diesel. Come on, guys. I know there's more of you out there. So somebody write some names in here, or I'm not going to move on. Kevin Hart. Nice. Who else we got? Dan Pena. Yep. Dave Chappelle. Nice. Somebody wrote, I heard some mixed reviews about this book you recommended. You're talking about my book? It's the only book I've recommended today, but I recommend a lot of books.
I told him about No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, okay. No More Mr. Nice Guy is a fantastic read for nice guys. If you're not a nice guy, you won't be able to relate to it. But I've never heard mixed reviews about it. So, Supercar Patrol, cool. Let's see who else we got. Dan Pena, Dave Chappelle, Brian, thank you. Robert Downey, yeah. Tim Duncan, I don't know who that is, but we'll check him out. Steve Harvey. So there you go, man. Some guys you can look up. Steve Hardy's pretty expressive. There's that one guy. What's that late night talk show? The Scottish guy. He's awesome. Or Californication. That's another great show. That's great. Dave Duchovny. But anybody know who that talk show host was? He has so many clips of him flirting with women. He's so good at it. Craig Ferguson. Yeah, that's him. Okay. Do you next a woman if she does not kiss after 2 dates? First date, she gave me a cheek. Second date, she did not want to she did not want to because she was shy. How do you recognize a time waster? Well, I'm going to look at the energy. I had that happen with one girl that was it was foreign, and it was interesting to me. She was really being careful, and she was really scared, and I had to call her out on it. I had to say, what's going on? Because you guys in America move so fast, and this, that, and the other, and I could tell she liked me. So then we talked about it again a little bit more, and it really came down to had a bad divorce. She had her heart broken. And unlike a lot of these women, she gave all the material objects to him and just left. She signed it all over to him and left because she was really hurt over it, and she was scared to get in another relationship. And so sometimes there's stuff like that going on. I didn't fault her for that. That's just where she was at. She's in a lot of pain, but she wasn't ready for anything more at that time. And I moved on, at that time. So there you go. But each girl's going to be a little different. And you might find that a girl's resistant 2 or 3 dates, and suddenly she's all over you. That can happen too. You can feel each girl's gonna have a different vibe, and so you got to feel out the vibe, feel how she's being, why she's doing what she's doing. There might be another reason. She might have a guy that she's not sure about, and she's not telling you about him. She might have a story. So get radically honest with her and see what happens. But here's the thing with radical honesty, man. You got to do it from a grounded, relaxed, solid perspective. You can't lose your temper, get control, get needy. If you're going to get needy, then it's kind of, it's like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on. What's going on here? And, you might say something like, we've been out twice, and I really feel like I get the feeling you like me and I like you, but you'll barely kiss me and you're holding back a lot. I feel like you're holding back a lot, like something's coming up. What's coming up? And just ask her straight out. And then hold that tension and ground her and see what she does with it. And say, well, I think you're fucking sexy. I like you. I want to move forward. But if you're not sure, we can move on, or if you're, and what I do is it kind of polarize, like you're putting down that wall, and at the same time, you got to be vulnerable while you say it. You got to let her see that, but you can't be chasing. You can't be trying to convince. Never try to convince. Okay. Be solid. Know what you want. Know what you're choosing. Don't try to convince a woman. Just be you, dude. Because if you try to convince, man, that's gonna be neediness, and they're gonna quickly pull away. So I've seen women, like, you'll put down, you'll be solid, and you'll say no to something, you walk away, and then they might go, okay, and then 2 days later they're calling you, they're chasing you. I've seen that happen so many times because you're a solid dude. Okay, what else we got? Jason Statham, Pat Tillman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. Okay. Used to be a nice guy. Now I'm more grounded. My voice is nice and low, but I feel indifferent to people. What can I do? Open your heart. You probably closed your heart. And you might start to become a nice guy again. So then you got to work out staying grounded with a vulnerable heart. That's why you're indifferent to people. So walk around. I think there's a video out there of me talking about these heart walks or vulnerability walks, where I talk about just going around and feeling stuff. Like I'll relax in the throat and the heart and ask it to open, meditate on it. I have a great YouTube release called the body scan meditation. Listen to that. That'll help open things up. And then walk around and look at a painting. I'm looking at a painting right here. And how does it make me feel? Look at artwork, or how does it make me feel? Look at a plant. How does it make me feel? As you see people walk by, feel them. How do they make you feel? And see if you can get a reaction in your body. If you do that every day, I guarantee you won't get 15 minutes a day, you won't get past a few weeks without starting to feel a lot more from people. But do the whole meditation so you learn to connect it to your groundings. If you open your heart and you start to become ungrounded, yeah, you're going to get reactive again. So you got to learn to open your heart and stay grounded at the same time. Feel your stomach, feel your legs, feel your whole body talking. So that's why that body scan meditation is so powerful. You can find it on the YouTube channel. Okay, I'm gonna check the time really quick. Okay, 5:48. We're doing good. What else do we got? Not sure if you'd be able to answer this, but how do you tell the difference between intuition and reaction to a trauma trigger? Hold on really quick. Don't mean to do this, but I have a friend in the hospital, and he called me from the hospital. He went to emergency today, and so I'm just gonna tell him I'll call him right after I'm off the call, make sure everything's okay. I can see the messages here. Okay, not sure if you'd be able to answer this, but how do you tell the difference between intuition and reaction? Well, reaction, I'm trying to figure out what you mean by intuition versus, I get proaction versus reaction, but reaction to it. What do you mean by this? I don't understand the question. Andrew, are you getting the idea of this question? Not sure I understand how they tell the difference between intuition.
It seems like maybe he's getting sort of different messages in his head about what he gets an idea of what he feels he should be doing in a situation, but he's not sure if he's reacting to past trauma or if this is like an intuition.
Is it based in fear? I mean, intuition would give you a clear message, go this way. But if it's based in confusion, fear, like there's doubt, there's worry, you're not sure, that's gonna be something unresolved inside of you. Because once you're up in courage, acceptance, love, peace, it gets a lot clearer. You're not reacting out of insecurity or nervousness, lower energies. And so that's where I would, like, my buddy had to go to a court case and he was really nervous about it. And he wasn't sure how to be in the court case, what to do. He didn't want to get in trouble. So he just started releasing on the court case, doing lots of daily releases until he reached a place of peace about it. And he was like, I'm just going to go in there. I'm good now. Whatever the judge does, he does, and we'll go from there. He got everything dismissed. And he felt really good, and he felt really calm and centered and focused in what he was going to say and how he was going to be. So, good example. Okay, what else do we got? I feel like my intention seems to materialize the opposite outcome. Why? Because you're probably in apathy, grief, and fear around. You're trying to force. Look, if I imagine a beautiful, sexy woman in my life, and I've got a lot of apathy, grief, and fear in my body. So I try to state pump out of my body and force the image. And I used to do this. And I'd sit there and go, okay, it's a beautiful woman in my life, beautiful woman in my life. And I go into a lot of wanting. And then I crash back in it. Nope, go to wanting, push, push, push. That's not going to create the image because I'm not relaxed in my body, enjoying it. There's no sense of expectancy, like it's already happened. There's no warmth and fuzziness. I don't need it to happen today. Like there's a sense that you are really happy with your life just the way it is, and you don't need this thing. And you'd be happy and it'd be awesome if this thing came into your reality too. And when those two are both released on both sides of that polarity, I'm happy right where I'm at, like sitting here right now, and I'm happy if this comes into my life, then they tend to come together. But if you're trying to get away from this place in your life by getting a hot woman to validate you so you feel better about yourself, yeah, they're going the other direction, dude. They're not coming towards you. You're gonna every time you try to create that image to get away from this image, you're actually pushing her farther away. There's a lot of wanting, a lot of needing in there. So that's typically why. Because people who are really successful, they like picture a guy that's really good with women. Does he go out at night saying, "I hope I meet a woman"? No, he goes out at night expecting to meet a woman. It's like, just why wouldn't I? I'm a dude. And women like dudes. Women like sex. What do you mean? They don't get it. Right. The first time I asked a natural what he said to a woman back when I was really bad with women. So what'd you say to win that girl, to get her attracted? What do you do? And he goes, what do you mean? I just talk to him. He says, I'm a guy, and the girls like guys. You talk to him. You just go talk to him. What's the big deal? In his mind, he can't fathom this idea. You see what I mean? So if he visualizes having a bunch of girls in his life tonight, they'll come in. The first time I visualized meeting two women, I was in Bucharest and I just arrived and I wanted some dates. So I just visualized and I did something called energetic modeling where I visualized them in 3D all around me. And I first started with one woman, another girl popped in. And then it was a Tuesday night. I literally went out that night and I met two women that night and I dated both of them. It was fucking awesome. And there was no resistance. I had fun with it. I was having fun in the moment. I wasn't trying to get anywhere. I was having fun with the visualization. I wasn't expecting anything. And then it all just happened. Pop, just like that. Okay. What else do we got? Thank you for praying for my friend in the ER. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. When you reveal more cap feelings, is it normal for the agflap feelings to amplify in contrast to them? Yes. Yeah, very normal. All the stories, that's just the only stuff that keeps you from experiencing agflap or cap, excuse me, is the agflap. So all that apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride is what agflap means for anybody that doesn't know. As I start to visualize more peace and more, then all the stuff that's keeping me from just naturally rising into peace comes up in my life, and I start letting it go. And in that moment, now maybe in that moment I have some other dormant pain that's not even in my reality. Like maybe the pain, I haven't seen my mother in years and I'm really mad at her, but I'm sitting in my favorite park, everything's beautiful, and then I'm welcoming and letting go of anything that might be in my environment at that moment that could be keeping me from going to cap. Everything's good for the rest of the day. I'm sitting in cap, and then mom calls. And then you start to try to visualize peace, but then the more you try to pull away from mom, you feel your attachment to this call at mom, and then you want to bitch about it. You see what I mean? And so then you clean that up, and then you start to rise back up to cap again, and you start to feel better and better. And then you do the next thing, and it goes on until you've really cleaned out a lot of that crap. So good question. Awesome. What else do we got? Okay, I was just kind of going through the chat really quick. Okay, how do I handle my family not understanding me being in cap state? Why would they even understand what that means? Do they read letting go? I see what you mean. They think it's childish to always be in cap. I have an unhealthy attachment with my father. He ends up triggering me. What do I do? You release on the need to make other people happy and make them understand you, to connect to them, to love them. Like my mom disagrees with a lot of my choices. You know what? She actually agrees with a lot of them now because she's seen me become so successful. But I don't try to change the way she feels about things. Right? I just love her the way she is. Same with my sisters. Same with my friends in my life. I'm really. I think it's really good to be able to keep your heart open and have a difference of opinion. Otherwise, you'll never be happy. Right? And most of the time, you're not going to be happy all the time unless you're enlightened, but you can work towards that. And I believe it's possible to live in that state of peace all the time. I believe people do it. But most of the time, I'd say the initial first goal is, can you be happy 80% of the time, living in cap 80% of the time? That's a huge, huge difference compared to the bulk of the planet. Then go for the rest if you really want to go for it and keep climbing that hill. But really, you're going to have to release on having other people agree with you, especially your family members, because that will never, ever happen, probably. People will disagree with you your whole life, get mad at you. I mean, I started this call out by talking about red pill, MGTOW stuff. I was waiting for people to come in here and jump off. Nobody did. Nobody cares. That's because that's not my audience, but we wanted to see what would happen. Maybe I'll do some videos on it and see what comes up. Every once in a while, they pop in, some of those guys, and get all mad at me. That one guy threatened to fight me once. It's hilarious, because I disagreed with MGTOW, and he got all upset. So, and they're not all like that. Some of those dudes are smart and really fucking cool. I have some of them, they're friends, but it's just, it makes me laugh when it's called cognitive dissonance. When they get their belief systems challenged, they want to attack other people. and it doesn't lead to good discussions or a healthy relationship with others. What is your interpretation on impatience? Where does it come from? I can't stand to sit still with no distractions for more than 5 seconds. How do I overcome being impatient? Learn to meditate. Get my releases. Maybe you can start with my releases if you want. I got a bunch of them on the YouTube channel, but learn to meditate. It's one of the best things you can do. Learn to still your body, learn to watch your thoughts, watch your breath. And even if you can only do it for 5 minutes to start with 5 minutes, work your way up to 7, then work your way up to 10 until you can really hit those peaceful states. What's going on? The reason people are impatient is there's something they don't want to feel in their own body. That's where the releasing's at. And you could learn to release that stuff too. And typically, they're constantly moving and doing to distract from being and feeling. That's the way life works, man. The ego keeps us busy because we're terrified of the now, but the now is the only place real joy happens. So when you get into it, you fight the meditative state, the releasing state, and then when you drop in, you'll feel, oh, my heart open. It feels so good. And the next week you'll be fighting it again. It's just the way it goes until you start to really live in it more and more. Cool. Okay, let's do. Do we have a lot more questions coming in?
We got 3 or 4.
Let's because it's already at an hour, so I'll try to speed answer. Don't do any more than these. What do you got now? 3 or 4?
All right.
Speed answer the last few, and then call it a day.
Sure.
How many do you got? How many are we doing?
We can do like 3.
Okay. I'm scared of coming back to be a nice guy. If I open my heart and start to be vulnerable, how should I do it? You just got to do it, man. And then you got to practice feeling that part of you that's reactive, and then releasing on the reactivity and the need for others to validate you, the want for others to validate you. And then I would even start moving and releasing on feeling your legs, your back. That's where your grounding happens. Start getting comfortable resting in your legs and your back. And so that would be huge. You got it. If you're not willing to get vulnerable, you can't learn to ground your vulnerability, right? I mean, it's like, I'm going to turn on my grounding, then get vulnerable. No, you don't need as much grounding. So it's only going to expand to the capacity you need. But if you start opening a wider and wider, lighter wire, then you can practice relaxing up and down. Grounding goes up and down through your body. Feeling outward goes this way. So the vulnerability is going to go this way. The grounding is going to go this way. So as soon as you start opening your heart and getting vulnerable again, then immediately start working on some grounding, come back to vulnerability, come back to grounding, go back and forth. And you can even welcome concepts like the want for validation, the need for validation, craving for validation, the need for others to agree with me, things like this, just like this guy did with his father. Okay, what else we got? Let's do another one. How can a man understand a woman's emotional talk, or what would be correct way of responding? Well, first you got to be able to feel it. Can you feel her emotions, or do you just hear it? And I'm doing a video on this tonight. Can you feel her emotions, like her anger, her sadness, her loneliness? And then can you be curious about it, appreciate it, enjoy it, and ground it? Or can you only hear her words? And so that's the first step. That's why the vulnerability walks are so important. I should do a video on that too. I'll do a video on that too. Walking around, and again, I talked about this earlier in this call, where I'm looking at this painting I've got it's a Buddhist painting, and I'm relaxing right through here and in my stomach, and I'm feeling that painting, and I'm like, wow, how does that painting make me feel? It's got greens and blues, and I'm just taking it in and letting it affect me. And then if there's any part of me that gets reactive to anything, because that's a naked lady, that could make somebody reactive, then I just relax, and open my heart and just enjoy it and let go of all the shame. Let's say if I had shame, I don't have any shame. It's been in my house for years. Or I could look at the color red, the color blue. I could look at a beautiful woman, and then if I feel ashamed, I could just let all that look away, enjoy the sunset, let it go, and then look back at her, and look away, enjoy the sunset, let it go, and look back at her. until I can start to really feel things like what are my emotional responses. Once I can feel my emotional responses, then I talked about in this video that I'm actually doing tonight. This is actually what this whole video is about. It's going to be the Fearless Friday video. I'll listen to people talk, and I'll go get friends and I'll practice listening to them talk, and I'll see, can I feel their emotions that are attached to their words. Like, I'm going to talk about this in this video. I had a friend that talked about the line in a painting in high school, and then he moved on. And I said, no, we're going to talk about that line in that painting. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, there's something about that. I could feel the emotion come up in you, and you just skipped right by it. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. I could see it in his body. So he came back to the line in the painting, started talking about it some more, and then more emotion came up. He's like, wow, I don't know where that's coming from. And then he realized that he missed painting. He'd painted in high school. That was the last time he painted, and he loved painting. He became a big artist. He's got a huge studio now in Miami. He's got art gallery showings. Changed his whole fucking life, that question, because I heard that emotion, right? And I asked about it. I was curious about it. Do you see what I mean? So kind of let that in. That's, if you can't feel the emotion of how things make you feel right in front of you, how are you supposed to catch the emotion that other people have in their vocal tones, you know? And you can listen to music. That's another great thing. Listen to music and listen to singers. Like, does this singer have actual emotion around what they're singing about? Or are they just pumping out lyrics, right? Andrew can talk about that because he's a singer. But that's the difference between a great singer and a bad singer. I mean, I think personally, you can have a great singer that's not technically very perfect. You can have a technically perfect singer that's boring as fuck because you can't feel. Would you agree with that, Andrew?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's something that makes me feel. That's my dog. She passed away about a year ago, maybe right around there. I love her, man. And Dave, my business partner, gave me this mug after she passed away. I drink out of it all the time. And she's awesome. And I see this and I just get warm, fuzzy feelings. So that's why I drink out of it. It makes me smile, you know? So again, you got to cultivate that ability inside yourself. That's why we have movement programs, embodiment programs. The art of fearless seduction is about feeling your body. Everything we do is about feeling your body, then developing flow states and communication at the deepest level. But I can't teach all that in a webinar. That's a lot of pieces that go together. It's actually super easy in the end, but it seems hard like anything else, you know, in the beginning, and then it gets easier. And then you start to realize it was always very easy. Was there one more? Thank you, Mac. I appreciate it. Art Mac Studio, R Mac Studio. You
That's
still on?
Roger. That's Roger.
Hey, Roger, what's up, man? And so, do you have one more question? Hey, is there any question? Amber, are you still on here? Or did I drive you off with all the talk about feminism and red pill?
She usually bounces after a few minutes.
Oana. Is this Oana from Bucharest? It's not Oana from Bucharest, is it? So, be really cool. What'd you say about a few minutes? I'm sorry. I saw Oana and I got distracted.
Amber usually jumps on, says hi, and then takes off.
Okay. Do I know this, Amber?
It's Chris's wife.
Oh, okay. Next time.
Oh, she's still there. She's still there.
Hey, Amber, what's up? Do you have a question? Anything? I heard you like my, you listened to my releasing course, or what is it, embodiment? No, what is it? The one I mentioned earlier to go to sleep to. Chris was telling me when you have trouble sleeping. So, any questions from Amber? Now I'm going to let you write a question. If you got one, I'm going to answer this question in the meantime. How do you mature? It seems a lot of this is based on that. Well, in my opinion, you mature by raising your consciousness. All growth happens through the raising of consciousness. You know, we can analytically figure out how to make something work, but it's eventually going to fail. So if we get a really good system that we analytically figured out, it's going to fail. The only thing that's going to really get rid of anger, poverty, and struggle and problems in the world is raising consciousness so that people become more connected, more conscious, more aware. That'll get rid of all the nature, and that'll make you more mature, and that'll get rid of all that angry nature. Okay. Well, Amber doesn't have a question. If you want, Amber, next time I'd love to have you. I'd love to answer any question you got, but don't feel obligated. And if you're there, Chris, just want to say what's up, buddy. And is there anything else we got, or is that it? That was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, the body scan meditation. You guys should all check that out if you haven't. Guys love that one, and Amber loves it too. Awesome. So guys, I think this was a great call. I didn't get anybody coming at me with anything really tough from the red pill MGTOW community or anything like that. And maybe we'll have another one, and we'll put that right in the title to invite people out to see what people want to talk about. Um, Tell them I said hey back. Well, I already said hey. So, and but I love those. Some of those guys are some good friends of mine too. And so we're each learning and growing and coming from where we come from. So with that said, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this call. If you're watching this on YouTube and replay, make sure to comment, subscribe, like, share, help us grow the channel so we can keep putting out amazing content for you. Okay, guys, have a beautiful night, and I will talk to you later. Take care.